Hello, Professor. This is my lab for the FizzBuzz game. I'm going to start off with just showing you the PDF first, and then I will go to the actual MASM and the Visual Studio and show you the output with the code running. So for the first part of the assignment, you wanted us to do the range from 1 to 46. So I have my data right here for Fizz and Buzz and Fizz Buzz. I also put a new line and then a number 46. I used the D word. Uh, I use ECX as the counter, and then I check the numbers if they were divisible by 15, which is 3 and 5, or by 3 or by 5. These are pretty much repetitions. So what I did was I clear the EDX register first, then I move the counter to the EAX register. Then I divided it by the number. I'm sorry, I moved the 15 to EBX and then divided EAX by EBX. Then I compare the EDX, which is to 0, which would be the remainder right here in EDX after you divide. And if it does compare to 0, then it jumps to the print this bus. So I did the same thing with 3 and 5. And if nothing jumps, then by default it's gonna jump to just print the number. So these are the labels that they jump to. So Fizz plus it prints Fizz plus and then it jumps to loop 1. Fizz also jumps to loop 1 after printing, and then Bus also jumps to loop 1. And then print number, right here, what we do in print number is we move the counter to EAX and then print EAX. That way, if it doesn't print anything, Fizz Bus or Fizz Bus, it's just going to print the number. Then we print a new line. That way, it moves the line to the next line for the next number. So this is the loop 1, which increments ECX. And then we compare ECX, the current number, to the number which has, for this part of the assignment, is only 46, which is the top of the range. And if it's less than or equal to, it jumps back to check number, which is up here, this label, and starts the process again. Otherwise, it ends. And when you run it, this is the output. So as we can see, 3 is divisible by 3, so it prints fuzz. 5 is divisible by 5, so it prints buzz. Same thing with 6, divisible by 3, fizz. 9 divisible by 3, 10 divisible by 5, 12 divisible by 3, and 15 divisible by 3 and 5. So we print fizz buzz, and so on, all the way to 46. For the next part of the assignment, you wanted us to get the range from the user and then validate it. So I did some prompts right here for the user. Enter positive integer for the low end of the range. And then the second prompt was enter a positive greater integer for the high end of the range. I also did a prompt for invalid input and then to try again. And variables for the high number and the low number, which is a double word. And then the same variables from the same strings from earlier. They're also here. Oh, this one's not supposed to be here, but It's there. I'll delete it. The code starts off with prompting the user. Then we use this label and we read the input with read int. If it's if there's an overflow or if there is no overflow, the number goes to this label right here, good integer low, which is I guess the low number that it's a good integer, so it's going to come here. And then from here we're going to test whether it's negative or positive. So we do the test on EAX to set the flags, and then if there's a sign flag set on that number, it's gonna jump back to retry, which is here. And then right here it prompts it lets the user know that there's an invalid input and to try again. And then this retry jumps back to read to take the input again. And that's the little loop that continues here if we don't get a positive integer for the first number. So let's say it is a positive integer and it's the EAX, which takes the integer, is moved to the low number variable. We do something similar for the high number. We prompt the user for a positive integer that's greater than the first. And we save it, and well, obviously it's going to get saved in register EAX. And the same thing, if there's overflow, if there is no overflow, it's going to jump to a good integer, good int high, which is for good integer, the high number. We do the test again to make sure it doesn't set the negative flag. And if it does, it goes to retry again. But if it doesn't, then I compare it to the EAX to the low number, which was entered earlier. And then we use the jump, the conditional jump, to see if it's less than the first number. If it is less than the low number, then it goes to retry again. These both go to retry. And then if it is a positive integer and greater than the first number, it's gonna save the value in EAX into the high number. When we continue, we print a new line just to differentiate between the input and the output, because this is where it's going to start printing output. We do the same from the first part of the assignment for 15, 3, and 5. And then we also, if none of the jump are triggered, then it jumps to print number. So yeah, after that, it's just the same thing. We just take the numbers. Actually, I apologize. Instead of putting 1 into ECX right here, we start off with the low number, whatever number that is, 5, 10, 20. So we start off with that counter, and then we move it into EAX. And then we continue the process like that. This is where it jumps to the prints. The prints are right here. Print number, same thing. So with the loop now, what we did is we increment ECX, which is the low number at this point, but it'll be incremented, and then after that we compare the low number, well, the current counter, to the high number, which is the high end of the range where we're gonna stop. And so we put a jump command right here. If the number in ECX is equal to or less than the high number, then it jumps to continue checking the numbers back up here to the label check number. Otherwise, it ends the game and it ends the name. So this is the output for that second part of the assignment. In this specific situation, I used 11 to 30 just to print a couple of FizzBuzzes. As you can see, if we put a negative integer, it gives you invalid input. The letter is going to give you the same thing. Well, let's go to the code and then run it so you can see the output. So this is the code with the comments. And let's run it and give it a try. So I'm going to put a negative number. It's not going to take it. It wants me to please try again. I'm going to put a letter. T didn't take it either. So we'll put 11. And then it's going to ask me to enter a greater integer for the high end of the range. So again, I'm going to put a negative number. Just try -5. Didn't like it. It wants me to try again. Then put a letter. G. It's invalid integer. Invalid input. Please enter again. Now let's try a positive integer but lower than 11. So let's try 7. And again, it's giving me an invalid input. So please try again. So now let's try 30. And there we go. 12 is divisible by 11. It's not divisible by any of those three. So it's going to print the number. 12 is divisible by 3. So it does fizz. 15 is divisible by 3 and 5, so FizzBuzz, and so on, all the way to 30, which is divisible by both 3 and 5. So that's the assignment. Thank you very much. I'll see you in class, Professor. Thank you.